Russia has agreed to a ceasefire, but there are several important details and even more conditions. We'll tell you all about them. Millions of people on the streets around the world. Large-scale protests against the president, who is already planning to leave the country. A declaration of the end of the war. Intelligence gives a shocking forecast that completely contradicts everything said earlier. We'll tell you everything. A split in the EU. Foreign ministers clash online. A loud accusation and a harsh response. What will the scandal develop into? Putin's final order. To whom did he give it and why was it his last? Yes, watch. About these and other key events of Sunday morning, October 19th. The most important and breaking news, exclusive details are waiting for you. The next news release, up-to-date information on events in Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, and the world, earlier and clearer than others. Everything you need to know today. Ukraine is entering an era where calm will become a rarity, and readiness for war the norm. This is what the head of Ukrainian intelligence says. A completely peaceful, unencumbered life is unlikely to happen in the near future. I don't have any respect for the fact that we will fight constantly. The language is not about this, but about the fact that we are ready to fight at the moment. This will happen, as it seems, and a call, and our power for our society is ours. These words came shortly after Donald Trump, discussing a possible end to the war with Volodymyr Zelensky, stated that Ukraine and Russia should stop where they are. But it seems intelligence sees reality differently. The war may change form, but it will not end. Large-scale protests against Trump and mass rallies in support of the US president's policies are underway. Organizers call them kings or no kings, emphasizing that America does not obey a single ruler. Protests are taking place in more than 2,500 cities and towns. Organizers estimate that millions will participate, potentially becoming the largest day of protest in US history. The No Kings movement emerged in the summer of 2025 as a response to the tightening of power and the militarization of cities where Trump deployed the National Guard against the wishes of local authorities. Former Vice President Kamala Harris intervened, calling on Americans to join the protests, and stressed that the protests must remain peaceful. In our country, power belongs to the people. And tomorrow, I call on everyone to come out peacefully to protest what is happening in our country and to express their position on the America we believe in. So join the No Kings protest, and please stay safe. Trump himself has already responded to the protests, telling reporters, and I quote, "They'll have their day. I think there won't be many people there." End of quote. Despite this, a reinforced police presence has already been established in dozens of cities. According to media reports, some protesters plan to march in yellow, a symbol of resistance to authoritarianism. Beyond the United States, snowboarding solidarity rallies were also held abroad in London, Tokyo, Stockholm, Lisbon, and Madrid. Organizers called October 18th a moment of truth, a test of whether America is ready to once again remind people that it has no kings. A date with a dictator. Trump is preparing to meet with yet another mad autocrat. American officials are discussing the possibility of another meeting between President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un for the first time since 2019. CNN reported this, citing sources in Washington. According to the channel, the talks are currently being conducted informally, without any concrete plans. The meeting could take place next month during Trump's Asian tour. However, there is currently no direct contact between the United States and North Korea, unlike during Trump's first presidency. Sources claim that North Korea has not accepted the letter the US president sent to Kim Jong-un earlier this year. The White House is currently focused on organizing the American president's visit to China and a meeting with Xi Jinping, where trade tensions between the countries will be discussed. I have an excellent relationship with Kim Jong-un. I hope it stays that way. I think it will. We have a very good relationship. I understand him. I've spent a lot of time with him informally, discussing things that probably shouldn't be discussed. And we really get along well. I believe his country has enormous potential, colossal potential. Trump previously announced his intention to resume dialogue with Pyongyang. During his first term, he held 3 meetings with Kim in Singapore, Hanoi, and on the Korean border, becoming the first sitting U.S. president to set foot on North Korean territory. Despite the grandiose statements, the negotiations then yielded no concrete results. A diplomatic row in the EU. Warsaw and Budapest clashed over the Nord Stream affair. Hungary accused Poland of justifying terrorist attacks after a Warsaw court refused to extradite a Ukrainian suspect in the gas pipeline bombings to Germany. It's scandalous, in Poland's view, because if you don't like some infrastructure in Europe, you can blow it up. Warsaw has effectively given advance permission for terrorist attacks in Europe. Poland not only released a terrorist, but also glorified him. This is the state of European rule of law. In response, the Polish minister retorted, "When your country is attacked by an aggressor, self-defense is not a crime. Everyone knows."
No, Peter, when a foreign aggressor bombs your country, you have every right to retaliate, undermining their ability to finance the war. That's called self-defense. The
Warsaw District Court yesterday overturned the arrest of the Nord Stream 2 suspect and denied extradition to Germany. Prime Minister Donald Tusk supported the court's decision, calling it legal and fair. Berlin stated that it respects Warsaw's decision, although diplomatic circles in Brussels are already discussing whether the incident could lead to a new round of tensions in the EU. At the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which remains under the control of Russian troops, repairs to external power lines have begun for the first time in a month. This was reported by the International Atomic Energy Agency. According to the agency's Director General, Rafael Grossi, the work became possible after the establishment of local ceasefire zones, which allowed specialists to safely access the facility. The establishment of local ceasefire zones made it possible to begin repairs. Restoring external power supply is crucial for nuclear safety. Both sides have engaged constructively with the IAEA to implement this complex restoration plan. IAEA emphasized that both sides in the conflict have cooperated with the agency in implementing this complex plan. The situation is strange, to say the least, in that Russia constantly poses threats to the plant and now supposedly agreed to a ceasefire. We discussed this with a military analyst. Media component, nuclear facility. Here, you can scare the West, Ukrainians, and Russians. And this time, I can personally say that apparently both sides have realized, plus Magadim is directly involved, that they need a break so they can fix things, because the risks are increasing. Regarding the ceasefire, this, by the way, applies to any issues and any ceasefires. If both sides are truly interested, the ceasefire will hold for some time. Especially since Magadim representatives are involved. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, and it has been under the control of the occupiers since 2022. Magadim has repeatedly warned of serious risks to nuclear safety due to ongoing hostilities in the area around the plant. A wonderful extraction of a propagandist. Putin ordered Simonyan to recover, and she promised to do so. A promise made to the leader must be kept. Dear Margarita, we all know, everyone in this team certainly knows, how difficult things are for you now and what a difficult time you're going through in your life and your families. But at work, you always show courage and resilience. I'm sure you can handle this too.
Thank you. I promise.
Get well or die. Which option do you think the propagandists prefer? Feodosia is in flames. Satellites show the complete destruction of an oil depot. Following 2 drone attacks, Ukrainian drones struck an oil refinery in occupied Feodosia twice on October 7 and 13. According to satellite images, 11 fuel tanks were destroyed. Several more were seriously damaged and likely cannot be repaired, Radio Liberty writes. After the second attack on the night of October 13, an offshore oil terminal caught fire. Flames engulfed 16 tanks simultaneously. The fire was visible from various parts of the city. This is the 3rd major attack on Crimea's fuel infrastructure in recent weeks. On September 29, a drone struck another oil depot in Feodosia. Experts note that a series of strikes on Crimean oil refineries has caused serious damage. Russian military logistics in the south. Well, judging by satellite images, the oil depot has effectively been wiped off the map. Israel blocked a Turkish rescue mission in Gaza and accused Hamas of trying to thwart Trump's plan. A Turkish humanitarian group was unable to enter the Gaza Strip to help Hamas militants search for the bodies of Israeli hostages. Tel Aviv is confident that the group itself knows where the remains of at least 10 people are located and is stalling for time to slow down the implementation of the second stage of Trump's plan, which calls for its disarmament. The ceasefire, the politicians' rescue operation, is becoming increasingly tense. One wrong move, and Trump's plan could crumble like ashes over Gaza. We discussed how durable peace in the region can be with Israeli military analyst David Sharp. Since the beginning of the ceasefire, Israel has been launching limited strikes on Hezbollah targets. So, for the sake of general understanding, I can say today that 330-odd militants, or about 300 Hezbollah fighters. And as a rule, we are talking about junior and mid-level commanders, have been eliminated since the ceasefire. At the same time, Israel sometimes strikes locations that represent raw materials. In addition to eliminating those trying, let's say, to restore this or that structure and, well, increase activity in southern Lebanon, they are simply destroyed. And on top of everything else, ammunition storage and production sites are periodically destroyed, as well as attempts to restore some kind of, well, I call it, semi-fortification, to subsist on construction are being thwarted. Belarus is cutting itself off from foreign currency. Lukashenko signed a law banning loans in dollars and euros. That's it, no more dollar or euro loans. The decision is explained by the stabilization of the market, but in reality, it was a consequence of the currency crisis that began after the sanctions and Minsk's loss of access to dollars and euros since the start of a full-scale war. According to the new law, citizens are prohibited from taking out loans in foreign currency, even equivalent, except from close relatives. A single home cannot be used as collateral for loans, and companies that are not macrofinance organizations will not be able to lend money to individuals other than their employees. Strict limits on interest rates and penalties on loans are also being introduced. The document changes 3 key laws at once: the Civil Code, as well as the laws on currency regulation and advertising. It will come into force 6 months after publication, so there is still 6 months to borrow something. Special thanks for watching until the end. Thank you for your trust. I look forward to your detailed comments, likes, and reposts. It's important that we grow. That's all for now. Until next time, and good news to you.